This is LiveWell Talk on Running for a Cause, Phil's Colon Cancer Story, Part 2. I'm Chief Medical Officer at St. Luke's UnityPoint Health, Dr. Dustin Arnold, and returning to the podcast today is Phil Decker, who's currently battling stage 4 colon cancer and receiving treatment at the Nassif Community Cancer Center. Since the last time Phil was here, he's ran a marathon, and we're going to talk about that today, and the Boston Marathon, raising money for 2 local cancer charities and raising awareness about colon cancer in general. Welcome back.
Thank you very much, Dr. Arnold. Good to be here.
Yeah. I watched, I did a marathon too. I watched The Mandalorian on Disney+. But your marathon was a little bit different. Tell us about it.
Sure. So it's my second time doing the Boston Marathon. This is a little bit different circumstances. I think the hardest part about this one was just getting to the start line. It was an absolutely wonderful experience. It was a big deal for me. I'm a social person, so it was a really big deal for me to see my friends that I'd run Boston with before, and friends of mine that are in the running community from literally all over the world. One of my best friends in the running community, she grew up in London, and her husband's from Iceland, and I get to meet people from all over the place that come to Boston. And just to get there and to be able to enjoy the experience with them, that was absolutely huge for me.
Now, about how many runners? I know it's in the thousands, but how many thousands are in the Boston Marathon?
30,000.
30,000.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah.
So like the population of Marion basically is going for a run. Your time?
4:24.
Yeah.
4 hours and 24 minutes.
I actually knew that because I followed it, but that's a good time.
Not too bad. My plan was to run the first half, and then kind of see how I felt. I ran the first half in under 2 hours, which, considering the circumstance, I felt really good about. Yeah. And then the back half of it, I really just tried to enjoy myself. There was not going to be any way that I could have run it full bore all the way through. So I tried to take in the whole scene that is the Boston Marathon. It's a really neat event, even if you don't run in it, just to go out and see it. There's 1 million people on the streets of Boston. It starts in Hopkinton, Massachusetts, and different than most big city marathons and most marathons in general, it's a point-to-point. So you start in Hopkinton, and then you work your way through a bunch of little small towns all the way through Boston, and people, it's their Super Bowl every year.
Yeah.
It was great.
It is one of my bucket list things I'd like to go see. Boston's a great town anyway.
Absolutely.
I mean, especially the Boston Red Sox, who are my baseball team. But we can talk about that in another podcast. What was your favorite moment, your memorable moment of that race? And you said socializing with people you had, friends. What else? I mean, just give us a little taste of how you felt afterwards.
Sure, absolutely. So, a couple of really neat moments for me. I had a friend who I'd qualified for in Indianapolis who didn't make the marathon in October. They have a time cutoff, and he had made this one in April. So it was super neat to have him along for the ride. I got to ride out on the bus with a guy that I ran the whole Indianapolis Marathon with and qualified with. Him and I got to ride out on the bus together. We got out to Hopkinton. We ran the first 4 miles together. That was a great experience. But the really awesome moment for me was I wore a jersey, and on the back we talked about kicking cancer's butt. And 3 times during the race, people came up to me and they put their hand on my shoulder really lightly, and they said, all 3 of them said the same thing, and they said, we got you today. And that was, it was a very, very touching moment.
Yeah, absolutely.
It was almost strange. It was super neat. And just the amount of people that, saw me and were cheering me on and rooting for me, to get to the finish and to take it all in. I wasn't as tired as I thought I was going to be. The crowd really carries you, and I stopped and had candy from kids. I stopped and took orange slices. Anytime there was something that maybe I didn't do in the marathon before, I did it, and that was just awesome. And then coming down Boylston, which is the last half mile, just being able to soak it all in and just enjoy the whole moment. My family got to be there. My family doesn't go to a lot of races. Marathoning isn't the best spectator sport for a family. They absolutely love Boston. They loved seeing the marathon. My daughter, who I've been trying to get to run her whole life and just has never had any interest in it, I'm not pushing that hard, but she'd be a great runner. She said to me afterwards that she'd like to run the Boston Marathon someday, and that was as proud of father-dad moment as you could have.
Maybe you guys will do it together.
Yeah. She put a post. You're a father. We have kids similar ages. She even put a post of me up on her Instagram page.
Oh my gosh, you made that
right? I felt like, wow, this is never gonna happen again.
Yeah.
So that was a super proud dad moment, and just being able to soak it up and enjoy it with my family and friends. I mean, I couldn't have asked for a better day. It was probably one of the best days of my life, for sure.
I'm fairly confident during my marathon of watching Disney Mandalorian, I'm pretty sure I had some snacks too, so that we have something in common. But let's talk about the impact. I mean, you were there. You had a purpose.
Yeah.
Not only emotionally and, if you will, spiritually, but financially. We were trying to raise money. What was the impact? I mean,
so we were able to raise $13,300.
That's awesome.
Which, when we first started doing it, I thought if we raised $1,000, I would have been over the world, right? And I really found, and I was looking through the list of donors. I just got in the list about a week and a half ago, and I'm trying to send out some emails and thank you notes, and I was just shocked by how many of my friends and even people that I didn't know that donated, and it's been unbelievable. And we donated to 2 great charities. I know Jack, which I know you're really familiar with. The Hovers, Jack and their family are absolutely awesome people. And I love being able to do very similar to them. And, we're trying to make some lemonade out of some lemons here,
Yeah, that's the way to do it.
And
that's the right attitude.
For sure.
Can listeners still donate?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
And how would they do that?
So we still have a link up. We have a website called tell5friends.org. Very shortly, I'm going to be announcing I'm going to run the Chicago Marathon, which I was already committed and signed up to do. I just had to wait and see how my health was going to be. I still have some chemo left to go, but after doing chemo and still being able to do Boston, I feel fairly confident that I can do Chicago. So we're going to try to. Every time I run a major marathon, we're going to try to raise money for cancer, for sure.
That's like in October. It's in the fall.
October 8th. Yeah, absolutely.
Not a lot of marathons are like July 4th, when it's super hot.
Not a good time. Not a good time.
This last week would have been brutal. So you're finishing your chemo, and you also had a surgical procedure between our last visit.
Yes.
Tell us about that. How's that going?
So I had major surgery on my colon and liver. Everything went great with that in terms of results. Came out, scans looked really, really good. Spent about 8 days in the hospital. On my 8th week of recovery, my goal was to be able to run by July 1st, and I'm getting really close to being able to do that. I'm walking 3 or 4 miles a day, so I'd like to get to the point now where I can run, and that's definitely coming. And then I have to kind of finish the protocol and do 7 more rounds of chemo after that.
Okay. And you never had radiation, did you?
I did not.
Just surgery and chemo.
Yep,
okay.
Just surgery and chemo. Yep.
So we've talked about the plans for the future. What's your future? I mean, I think you're really good at doing this fundraising. Not only, you're running, but you're just passionate. And that's why I'm glad you're back and love talking to you. What's your future? What's your plan along that way? You have any plans to continue with a kind of a fundraising line of work, if you will?
Yeah, absolutely. You're 100% right. I am extremely passionate about helping people that have cancer, helping to find a cure for cancer, and also being able to raise awareness about people getting their colonoscopies and making sure that they're getting their screening so we can catch it earlier. This has been, being able to do this fundraising for cancer has been probably the best thing I've ever done in terms of having a really tough situation and, getting that backpack that I got from the I Know Jack Foundation and seeing that story and saying, hey, it was kind of a eureka moment for me.
Yeah.
I felt like I was kind of touched on the shoulder. And this is my time to make a difference in Cedar Rapids and hopefully the world. We're going to start a foundation, the tell5friends.org. We're pretty excited about getting the word out about colon cancer, and we think there's some legs to that. We're gonna put stories up about people that are battling cancer and that are what I would call cancer thrivers. They're doing things that are affecting the world, and people that they're no longer with us that have done great things to affect
absolutely.
the world. So my goal, just from a 10,000 foot level, is I'd like to run one major marathon every year to be able to raise money for cancer, and then I would like to do one hard thing a year. When I say a hard thing, a couple years ago I went to climb the Grand Teton and we got snowed out. But next July, I'm going to go back and climb the Grand Teton and bring with me people who want to raise money for cancer and hopefully some people who have had similar experiences with cancer, so it really means a lot to them. And then I'd like to establish a 5K race in the Cedar Rapids area that we could raise money for cancer. So I'm excited about the future in terms of that. That has been a huge blessing for me personally. People say to me that, all the time, you really inspired me. Where in fact, be a little selfish, people have really reached out and done some wonderful, wonderful things for me. I mean, I can't say enough for the people at the Nassif Cancer Center, what they've done for me, and people at UnityPoint have done for me. I mean, I'm just the video you guys did for me before I went to Boston. I mean, I watched it twice.
You did.
Yep, I watched it once, and then I watched it the night before I went to bed. And the first time I couldn't watch it more than half of it because, I had tears in my eyes the whole time. So I've had a bunch of really neat people come into my life because of cancer. And that strikes a chord in my heart. And, I want to help those people. I want to help my community and other people that are going to have to battle this cancer. So I'm not going to go away, and hopefully we'll continue to raise a lot more money for sure.
As a healthcare provider, it is, we all do it because we love helping people,
Sure.
And it's a wonderful feeling. And I'm glad you've kind of got the bug, so to speak, for that. But, you said making lemonade out of lemons. Man, I think you've made lemonade, lemon drops, lemon layer cake. You've made a lot of stuff out of lemons, and that's just impressive.
Thanks.
And you should be very proud, because I know this podcast is proud of you. Thank you again for joining me. You're an inspiration to all of us. We're proud of you, and this podcast is proud of you, and I'm a little bit better person knowing you. I really feel that. Again, that was Phil Decker, who ran the Boston Marathon this year to raise awareness about colon cancer, as well as raise money for the I Know Jack Foundation and Children's Cancer Connection. If you'd like to support Phil's campaign, visit Tell5Friends, that's TELL 5, and then friends.org, and visit the How to Help page. We'll also have a link of the fundraiser in the description of the podcast. If you're 45 years or older, talk to your doctor about a screening colonoscopy. Tell 5 of your friends to get the colonoscopies as well. Finally, if you've been diagnosed with colon cancer, learn more about treatment and support services offered at Nassif Community Cancer Center at communitycancercenter.org. Thank you for listening to LiveWell Talk On. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe, and if you want to spread the word, please give us a 5-star review and tell your family, friends, neighbors, strangers about our podcast. We're available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Pandora, or wherever you get your podcast. Until next time, be well.